Hi, this is IBM Museum. Today's video is going to be on an IBM PS2 Model 55SX that I recently got going. I'm going to flip the power switch so it goes through the memory count as I give the lead into the video. And I just modified the Dallas Semiconductor real-time clock module to add a battery, to replace the dead internal battery on it, to get the machine working. And this system is interesting for all that because it has a Cyrix Cx486SRx2 CPU, and that's a clock doubled CPU that is that Cyrix designed to be a replacement for the Intel 386SX that would normally be on this type of system. And this is apparently put in place by IBM directly. It doesn't have any markings otherwise that it was anybody else added. I mean, clearly it's a surface mount CPU, but it's not even marked on the badge. The badge looks to be just like a normal 55SX. And for this video, I'm just doing a voiceover. I still have equipment that I'm not able to get my webcam going. It's enough that I can do the voiceover as it goes through, and I give basically the screen, export the screen of what the system does. And I wanted to show it does also have a Procom Pyra 55 replacement riser on it, and that gives IDE to the system. It allows me to run an IDE 120 megabyte drive, and I think the system came like that. It's externally on the case, it was marked that it was from MasterCard International, although I didn't see any software. And then when I was just recently checking this system, I found out that the Windows for Workgroups 3.11 is in fact registered to me. It's something that I went through and installed. I'll go through and run that because it's interesting for adding the Cyrix software, which the machine did not have before today. I just went through and added it, so it gives shows all the screen and things like that. And I was going to say, the one objection to me going through and modifying the real-time clock module is that the time is actually off here by an hour. The clock is running an hour faster from when I set it yesterday after I got the system going. But and that's why I have to get make a new real-time clock module for it. But that's joking, because in this instance we went through daylight savings time adjustment last night. So that's the reason that it changed the time. And I can go through and set the appropriate time for what it is now. Let's go through and let's set it for all the time I spent talking. I don't know what the exact time is, but as we go through now, it'll show me the correct time. And as I say, I wanted to run through the Windows startup because the Cyrix software gives some interesting splash screens once you install the software. And I couldn't believe that this software was not in place before. I want to thank Tim Clark, member of the SIF news group for decades now. He's had where he's squirreled away the software for the Cyrix CPUs among the other collecting that he's done. And I ran through a routine of a disk that he made. I had some initial problems with just the diskettes and going through and copying things. Now, I don't know why I stayed with these ugly colors or set these ugly colors of Windows for Workgroups 3.11. But here's the Cyrix software that it puts in for Windows. And you really have to go through almost like the Windows installation before it adds some of the stuff to the autoexec.bat file. to run the CPU with cache enabled and run it in true optimized form. And in this case, the Windows software is pretty elaborate. There's nothing really provided for at the DOS level to go through. And there's also OS2 software that I would expect would be very similar to this. You can go through and just really get down to the nitty gritty. And I would have to go through and even study what some of these things do. They have this pipeline mode, and I may try that later on as well, just to kind of see if that functions on this system, because it gives it a nice little boost to the system. And although this would be kind of the top of the line for a 55SX system, because it's got that CPU that runs at 32 megahertz internally, in place of the 386SX, and supports 46SX instructions set on it, basically, and things like that. So more powerful CPU. And then I've got the only adapter, microchannel adapter I have in here currently is what's called the 2 through 8 memory adapter, and that goes through and adds to the 8 megabytes that's on the planar memory in the 2 SIMs, and has 4 SIMs that are 2 megabyte apiece. And so the system has that maximum capacity of 16 megabytes. I'm able to hit very close to that. I think ultimately it registers at 15.5 megabytes. And I have 2 available microchannel slots, and probably what I'm going to do is an Ethernet adapter, or maybe even token ring, some sort of NIC on it, basically, to get it to connected to a network just for file sharing, being able to move things around. I have a working floppy drive on this system as well, but those things, you never know when they can go out, and I just need other mechanisms to get files more easily on the system. And probably an external CD-ROM, which would be SCSI in this case. I'll probably put like an Adaptec 1640, which was the microchannel SCSI adapter. But I decided to run through the system, showing what it displays on the screens as it boots and as it gets into Windows, because the splash screens are really interesting as it goes through and runs Windows. Now, there was a 55LS486 module that IBM released as well, and that was basically where they put what was called the Reply 55 replacement planar in the system, what a third-party Reply Corporation came up with, and then IBM later on made it into its own model, and that model was the 53 SLC2, and it has an IBM 46 SLC2 50 megahertz CPU. So it's internally it's running at 50 megahertz, so it'd be faster than the system. And those IBM CPUs, even though they were done a little bit with the original work with the Intel code mask and things like that, and then later in their work alongside Cyrix to do later CPUs, but those CPUs have a 16 kilobyte L2 cache on them that's automatically enabled, and so they don't require the same software. The point I'm trying to get to is a 55LS486 mode, being that it has IDE on the planar, you can get the full 16 megabytes of RAM on those SIMs. There's 3 SIM slots on the board. And so that system is capable of even running faster than this without even using a microchannel slot, without having any additional adapter, kind of frees up another adapter, and you have that IDE without even having a replacement riser in the system. So this system is kind of a half step between or close to the 55LS46 level. But if you like this video, go through and like it. Click on that appropriate spot. So please subscribe to my channel. There'll be more videos like this later on. The next video I'll be showing, actually going through and modifying those Dallas Semiconductor modules on camera, just to kind of show, and at least dremeling. I have some that I'll go through and solder beforehand, so I can kind of show how I make up the modules, how I get them fit in the system to clear any adapters that may be in place or anything like that. So that should be a good video that I'll have coming up. Probably take me about a day or so to get it up as well. But that's all I have for now. This is IBM Museum. Thank you.